No black cats, just straight facts.
Triple P certified.
Listen, we can talk about odds all day. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It matters what's gonna happen. Welcome to the Perfect Parlay Pursuits. We are back off the heels of a medium-sized weekend, entering into a gigantic weekend, and thank God we're here. We have upped our water game. This is a glass bottle. This says nature's most perfect water. So I'm drinking clear. Alex has the beer. Dan, I'm not going to say what he is, but
no liquids on me. No liquid.
Rhyming word there. Clint Maclean will be on the show. Diehard MMA, Pub Sports Radio. He's around. He's everywhere. He's on your Instagram reels. He's on your YouTube feed. He's gambling, and he's going to hopefully give us Johnny the Greek's phone number once we get him on the show. We got to really put the spotlight on him.
No, you don't want to give me Johnny the Greek's phone number. I will do terrible things with that. I don't like Johnny the Greek.
That is a joke, Johnny. Alex, you are going to fuck this up. Johnny, that is a joke. I will not give it to Alex. I'll be very trusted with your phone number, Johnny the Greek. Like Johnny the Greek, I had a perfect parlay on the Contender Series, and I had a perfect parlay last Saturday. The only difference was they weren't my picks. If you tailed my open bet sheet, if you bet every bet I bet, you are the proud owner of a perfect parlay in your bet slip. You are the proud owner of $1,300 more dollars if you tailed my picks. I copied Cody Saftik's picks, as I do from time to time, and you should too. It's a great little insurance policy for $5. I have $1,300 now because I went 4 out of 11 last Saturday evening. The one bringing up the rear of our trio, Alex and Dan went, I believe, 7 out of 11 and 8 out of 11, respectively, something like that. 6 out of 11 and 7 out of 11. 4 out of 8 Trophy certified picks. But I went 4 out of 11. We had an inaugural opening of our open bet sheet that is on patreon.com/perfectpursuit. We have now one Google sheet that has all of our open bets tabs in it, and I put on there the one parlay that was 11 fights long, $5 to win $1,300. So, excuse me, I have hiccups now. Boys, take over.
Well, wasn't a good week for me, so I'm not going to add to the happiness and the cheeriness about this. The only thing I'm happy about is our guest coming on the show. Haven't seen him in a while, but looking forward to that very thing myself. Alex, do you have anything to – I mean, you had the biggest week of all. You won the most money.
No, I didn't win the most money, actually. Luke won the most money. I had the most correct picks. Jennifer Maya sunk all ships except for one. I cashed out in the open bet sheet, patreon.com/perfectparlaypursuit. I cashed out on one of them because they both had Jennifer Maya, Sadiq Youssef. I was so right all night, I decided, you know what? Edson Barbosa has to win. I dumped the truck on Edson Barbosa. Won a decent paycheck, nothing to write home about, won all my money back, and then some, so I was happy.
And folks, if you're sitting there saying, Alex, but you came on this show and you Triple P certified Sadiq Youssef, you would have been bereft of Alex's change of heart if you were in the Patreon, the Fine Tooth Comb Club, where Alex has his open bets sheet posted live. He updated the public. He put Barbosa in there at the top, letting you know that he was indeed betting on Edson Barbosa at that point. And without further ado, we'll get out of the nitty-gritty, out of the brass tacks, and welcome in the fun portion of the show this week. We got Clint, third week in a row. We have a wonderful guest, Diehard MMA, Pub Sports Radio, Clint Maclean. What is up, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, boys? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining and decked out in your NHL gear, but I see the Vikings helmet on the wall, babe. We got full hockey, football. We got everything right now. Playoff baseball. What's on your mind? What are you excited about?
It's a great time to be alive, right? The degenerate gamblers going nuts this time of year. I love mixing and matching hockey, football, MMA, and the parlays and stuff like that. It's good stuff. I'm pumped for my Coyotes, guys. I kind of had to let the ship sail with the Minnesota Vikings. It's not our year this year. I think that's become pretty apparent for everybody. And even though the Coyotes still suck, we are still in the process of a rebuild. They're going to be fun to watch the next couple of years. So some good stuff to look forward to for sure.
Clint, are you out in Minnesota, Clint?
No, I'm actually married into the Minnesota life. I'll be honest with you guys. So my wife's family originally was from Minnesota. They migrated over to Arizona, and I started watching the Vikings on Sundays when I would go over and spend the day with her family, doing breakfast, cheering on the team, and didn't really care that much about professional football when we were dating. So just kind of caught the bug, and they're my team by association now, I guess.
That's
Bro,
great.
they robbed your Vikings. I just got to say this real quick, Alex. They robbed your Vikings against the Chiefs. I mean, I think after that, you got to realize it's just not in the stars. Taylor Swift did not decide to date one of your players. The NFL, just you're disposable at that point, and they did you wrong.
It's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. That no call. The fact it makes it even worse that they threw the flag and then picked it up. It's like, no, that was a penalty. You absolutely know that was a penalty, and somebody's earbud went off, and they were like, pick that up, buddy. So, yeah, man, rough ending to that game, and really this whole season could have had some wins. They weren't there. They were close. We put up fights against good teams. Yeah, there's something wrong with the team, man. I don't know what it is. The team is good. It's got all the pieces, but there's something missing. I'm not sure what it is.
Just not in the script. It wasn't written into the NFL script for the season to have the Vikings win. We all know that.
I guess that's it.
Guys, I got some inside intel. I have the script. I have the script. This year, Birds, not our year. Just gonna say that. Eagles not winning the Super Bowl this year. But guess what? Here's what's going to happen. Travis Kelce is now dating Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, Eagles fan. Jason Kelce plays on the Eagles. Let me think about this for a second. Travis Kelce is going to take a veteran minimum next year since he's getting all this Pfizer money. He's going to go to the Eagles. He is going to play with his brother, seduce his brother into staying one more year. The Eagles win the Super Bowl next year. The Kelce brothers win the Super Bowl together.
Where can I place that bet?
Well, I wouldn't have even allowed you to go on that way if it wasn't such a slow week. I actually looked at the schedule and I was like, why did I book Clint this week? There's quite literally nothing to talk about. Then it hit me. Not only are we off the heels of Paul versus Stannis, which I knew I wanted to get Clint's take on, but we also have coming up Fury versus Ngannou. We are perfectly positioned to have Clint on the show, actually. There's a lot going on. And then the good Lord blessed us with two co-main and a main event fallout. So we have two fight replacements we're going to get into. Got to get his take on the switch ups. I know you just did your show, so where can everybody find you before we kind of get into everything MMA related?
You can always find me over on Pub Sports Radio. Every single Monday, we break down the full card from a betting perspective. Weird that we have a break week already coming up this quickly. We just got off of a week where we didn't have anything to talk about, and they're going to do it to us again. On top of that, Bellator looks like they're going under, so we're not going to have any, makeup MMA or B Squad MMA to talk about. It's going to be another off week, unfortunately, but you can always find me over there on Pub.
Now, what is Pub Sports Radio? Is it when I see the commercials for Pub Sports Radio, I'm always confused. I'm like, is this a restaurant is this a brick and mortar restaurant that exists in the physical realm that Clint owns or works at or has a relationship with? I'm like, what is this?
So the Southtown 101 in Texas is the bar and restaurant, and the owner of said bar and restaurant is Mr. Jeff Slaughter. He's our captain, our fearless leader. He owns Pub Sports Radio. That's his baby. So they are kind of hand in hand. If you're in the area, Austin, Texas, you can go down to the Southtown 101 and enjoy some great food and company. But the rest of it is all done online, and that's where we cover every single sport under the planet. Under the sun is probably the best way to say that. But we do basically nonstop betting breakdowns, previews, everything you want to know. They go all the way down to the nitty gritty of like WNBA sometimes and stuff like that. So anything you're interested in, we've got at Pub Sports Radio. There's an expert. There's somebody covering it.
Well, that's actually me. I'm actually the resident WNBA fan, college women's basketball fan. So I'm just kidding. But correct. Am I fucking moronic? Or did you say you work for Sergeant Slaughter?
Yes, I do work for Sergeant Slaughter. That is my claim to fame.
Oh my gosh. For real? He's like the wrestler?
No, his last name is Slaughter. So I'm sorry. I just call him that just for fun. It's not the actual Sergeant Slaughter, but his last name is Slaughter, so got to go with it.
And he was a sergeant in the Marines.
That I don't know about. No, I don't believe he was a sergeant in the Marines.
Bro, you could not be derailing this more. I mean, this is getting a little. So, with that said, we're coming off UFC 81, Vegas 81, whatever it was. Barbosa versus Yusuf. Who did you have going into that, I should say? Because I know you're a dog hunter. And I actually tailed one of your picks. You convinced me. I don't know. I was up too late one night. I was looking at your Instagram, and you were going on and on about Ravinia Oliveira, right?
Oh.
And I knew just little enough about her and Lisboa to be like, okay, Clint seems to be very passionate about this. I had a $25 free bet. I threw it on Oliveira by submission. No love lost. It was a free bet. It went down. But I was hopeful for you. I did want it to pay out for both of us. It did not pay out. And I just think, are we done with lady fights in general entirely? Are we just done betting?
Not for me, man. I'm a masochist of the highest order. I will bet women's MMA until the day I die, and you can't stop me. That's one of those rough ones, man, because honestly, looking back on it as a plus 300 dog there, all she needed to do was survive one grappling exchange in the first or second round, and we saw Lisboa has absolutely no answers off her back. She just needed to get on top one time early in the fight, and that plus 300 cashes. Not the submission prop probably, but she gets on top. She grinds out a decision. Lisboa has no answer, and maybe she's tired from playing on bottom, and the sub happens later on in the fight. Who knows? We can play that guessing game all day. I actually don't hate the value stab at it. I just think Lisboa is probably a little bit overrated, and it looks like Ravenna is probably going to drop down a weight class for her next fight, so she probably naturally is just a little bit too small to be handling women at that weight class, but we'll find out what she looks like in the near future. I don't hate it. I would make the same bet again, and she had a full round of top control in the third and just never even looked for a sub. Those are the ones that are just so incredibly frustrating for me, where it's like there was an arm triangle there was, positions, and they just don't go for it. But it's like,
And Clint, something about that as well is like jiu-jitsu simply doesn't work. Purple belt, brown belt, black belt. Once somebody gets to the UFC, they're like, yeah, we're promoting you. Just so everybody knows of our school in the neighborhood, we have a UFC black belt that's going to be training you. The belt system in jiu-jitsu, it's absolutely worthless. It doesn't matter. But, you're talking to somebody who bet plus 900, what was it, plus 1900 on Sadiq Youssef submitting his first ever submission on Don Sheamus. Yes, the value's there. You got to take that value when it's there. But if it's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, blue, purple, brown, even the black belts suck. You saw Fluffy Hernandez submit the black belt guy. What was that guy's name, Luke?
Yeah, Rodolfo Vieira, the black belt hunter.
Yeah, world champion.
Well, no, I think what you're trying to say is
that was more of an exhaustion thing, though.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to. Yeah. At plus 1600 in the UFC, you got to bank on the fact that it's very scary to fight somebody in a cage, and it's also very exhausting. And one of the few and only ways out of the fight with your dignity, in a lot of ways, so to speak, is to just find a way into a submission. So a lot of these people are like, how did they get submitted? It's like they're not even good at jiu-jitsu. It's like, yeah, but they're good at all the other things, and that other guy was looking for the exit door. So I don't mind if it's plus 1600 looking at the submission all day long. I mean, it's more of a like you said, it's more of a I'm too tired to continue pathway out. So, and really it goes to the corner. The corner should be thrown in the towel more often. But did you align and side with Sadiq Youssef or Edson Barboza? Because no matter who you picked, I know it's going to be an interesting kind of experience that you had watching the fight, because they both had their moments that kept you on the edge of your seat.
For sure. So it's actually interesting. I refused to bet that fight. I did pick Sadiq Youssef because I feel like Barboza is just, man, he's teetering on the edge of the cliff. All these weight cuts, he's massive. He sucks himself down so badly. He's old. He's taking a ton of damage. And I'm just like, it's coming. The end of the road is coming for Mr. Edson Barboza. But at the same time, I love Sadiq. He's fun. His breakdowns are hilarious. I'm just not quite sold on him, man. He's a little hittable. He's a little chinny. He wobbles in every fight. It's like, do I really want to lay chalk on this guy against Barboza? So I passed. I stayed off it. I did pick Sadiq Youssef as getting his hand raised at the end of this thing. My biggest regret during the fight is at the end of round one, you could have got like 4-1 live on Edson Barboza going into the second. And I even tweeted about it. I was like, if you guys have parlays that all anchor on Sadiq Youssef, now's a good time to get out. Did I bet it live? No, I just let that ship sail right on down the river. Unfortunately, didn't make any money on it. So could have gotten in live and been very happy on Edson Barboza, but let that pass by me. So, wrong on the pick overall, but when it comes to, my predictions, I always tell people, if I'm not willing to put my hard-earned money on my prediction, I don't feel that strongly about it. So, I'm kind of okay with the good pass on that one, not laying chalk on a guy that got the loss.
Well, real quick, how's this for you? So I went 4 out of 11 on the night as far as my picks go. Most of my parlays were dead pretty early in the night, and everything was, dark. But I have this one parlay that's just sitting there in the distance. I'm like, what is this one that's still, floating around? I don't even remember doing this. And I look. They're not my picks. None of them are my picks. Hardly any of them are. Some of them are, obviously, but not all. So I'm looking. I'm like, okay, this one. It ends with Barbosa. I'm like, what? This must be like, I don't know whose picks these are. I'm like, this is crazy. Turns out I tailed Cody Safdik's picks after watching.
There you go.
$5 bets paid $1,300. Went all the way to the end. And obviously after round 1, I'm sitting there like, oh, this is definitely going to lose now. Here's where it loses. We Triple P certified Sadiq Youssef. So I'm like, all right, well, I never really thought this was going to win anyway. So I'm trying to cash it out. It's like still offer me $150 on the $5. So I'm like, cash out. It doesn't let me somehow. It's like cash out unavailable. So I'm like, all right, whatever. But then I start to think, I'm like, well, he didn't get the finish. The round ended. So you know what Mike Tyson says? If you go for the finish and you don't get it, you're going to lose the decision. So it became a very fun fight to watch after that for me. But I did kind of a lot of hedge plays on Sadiq and on other outcomes along the way because they weren't my picks. So I wasn't very confident in them as I went on, but ended up with a small profit. But just goes to show, you watch dog or pass, you throw 5 on the PRP, and that's your insurance policy for the night.
Absolutely.
You have to bail you out 3 times a year.
Cody's a legend, man. I'm happy for him hitting the big one there this last week. That's awesome for him and anybody that jumped on board.
So anyway, Alex,
I went 7 out of 11 on the weekend, and once Jennifer Maya lost, I was heavily invested in Jennifer Maya, huge Jennifer Maya fan. She has the biggest head, and something we value a lot is like big heads, big necks on this podcast. We love people with big necks. They can withstand a lot of damage. They can go out there and they have the power. They're strong. So once Jennifer Maya lost, I was like, oh, I've been 2 right all night. 7 out of 11. My last 2 picks were Jennifer Maya and Sadiq Youssef. I said, I've been way too right tonight. Dump the truck on Edson Barboza. After Jennifer Maya lost, we dumped the truck on Edson Barboza. And if you were in the Comb Club, you won as well.
Very nice.
So anyway, with that said, we had a lot of other things that went down this weekend. I got to say, Clint, like I'm done with the things that aren't UFC pretty much. I mean, like I can get down with a one, every once in a while. I watched the most recent one with Stamp Fairtex. Won good money on it too. Didn't know I was betting on fights that were jiu-jitsu matches when I placed the bets. Didn't know I was betting on mixed rules bouts but it was a fun roller coaster ride. That being said, I understand why people don't handicap it. It's hard to handicap something that's okay. First round kickboxing, second round jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
What am I supposed to do with this? So, but what I'm really done with is the celebrity boxing. I can't keep contributing to this, both with my attention. With this will be the last time we talk about it on the show. It definitely won't be. But we're gonna say it is for now. I mean, it was just such a waste of money, such a waste of time, and it's like I wanted to find some redeeming factor. I wanted to find some redeeming quality of the night, and there's not much to be said, right? What does anybody have anything? Let's do a roundtable discussion of the Misfits boxing event. Is there any redeeming element of it at all? Dan, we'll start with first.
Well, I jumped ship already. I already jumped ship on the craziness of the YouTube boxing world. All I saw was the Instagram clip afterwards, the Notorious Brawl. Seemed like, I mean, we're talking about scripts in the NFL. There have to be some sort of script in this based on what I heard, what I read. So I'm not really a good guy to go to on this. I don't know. It seemed a little bit WWE from the start for me. Fun, I guess, good for the eyeballs. But I mean, you guys were talking about, oh, should I bet KSI or should I bet Fury or blah, blah, blah. Do not touch that thing with 100 yards. I mean, you can't bet on these fights whatsoever. But obviously, That's not the show that we got going on. We're betting on fights that we don't even know what the rule set is half the time, whether it's a jiu-jitsu match or otherwise. So we're just having fun here. I don't know.
And Dan, you're right. You can't bet on them legally here in the States. Like, they don't even allow you to bet on these fights.
Well, you were pondering it. That's how much we know about the gambling sphere.
I was pondering it when I heard that Tommy Fury, somebody told me Tommy Fury was a gigantic underdog, and I was like, all right, hold on. Tommy Fury is a gigantic underdog against KSI. Turned out not to be true, but I looked up how to bet on him when I heard that, because that seemed a little crazy. And he barely won. So that's the other thing. It's like, imagine I did get to the window with that. Like, I would have been hating myself for it. So overall, I think we need to just, if it's not sanctioned, if it's not competitive, if it's not, under the unified rules, or, and the other thing is I would have actually, like, them scheduling it for 6 rounds makes it worse, because it's like, you can't even really respect them after. It's not even like, oh, look, they went through this hard, grueling thing, and now, like, Logan Paul's raising Dylan Dennis's hand, and he's like, no, I'm raising his hand, like, you, and it's like they respect each other in the end, and they're both bloodied and battered. It's like, no, it's a money grab.
What do you want him to make out at the end, like a Dustin Poirier fight, you loser? Like, nobody wants to see that at all, ever.
No, I do. No, I'm saying, like, at least then, we could feel that they at least wanted to win, or they at least had some stake in it. When you watch it to the end, you're like, okay, neither of them even gave a fuck. Like, nobody cared,
Clint, what did you think about those boxing?
I'll be honest with you guys. I turned it off. I put it on, and I was staring at the first round or two, and I was just like, why am I watching this? Like, it was not entertaining whatsoever. It was sloppy. Here's my thing. Dylan Dennis needs to be ashamed of himself, because everybody has been waiting. Who's going to shoot the takedown? It's been such a big talking point. All these MMA fighters doing the boxing thing. Somebody was going to shoot a takedown, right? Diaz went for the guillotine choke, just kind of like letting people know it was there, but nobody had the balls to actually shoot a full-on takedown. Buddy couldn't even get the takedown on a fake boxer. If you're going to shoot a takedown representing the ground game, representing mixed martial arts as a whole, you better get that damn takedown. And he couldn't even get the takedown on a guy who was expecting to do nothing but use his hands for 6.5 fake rounds. Dylan Dennis should be more ashamed of himself than other people are letting on for that. So I was incredibly disappointed. It was apparent, like you guys have said, nobody cared. They were just in there throwing hands for no reason. It was not entertaining to me. And I actually was mildly entertained by some of the Jake Paul fights that had happened previously. This one, not so much. So yeah, I shut it off. I saw the brawl clips on YouTube afterward, or on Twitter afterward. But yeah, man, not for me. I'm okay with people dipping their toe, but I want to see the ones who actually kind of have some effort, like the way Jake actually seriously trains for these fights coming in. Doesn't seem like everybody else is doing the same thing, and I can pass on that.
Well,
all right. Well, hold on, Luke. Hold on.
I need to say this. Jake Paul is a white hat. Logan Paul is the black hat. In all this, people have it confused. Jake Paul is actually the one who we should be getting behind. We should be supporting. I'm on record saying it's John Jones 1, Jake Paul 1A. As far as my favorite fighters now, he defeated Nate Diaz, so I have to now elevate him to my favorite fighter. He beat Anderson Silva and Nate Diaz, 2 of my favorite fighters. How can I not promote Jake Paul to my favorite fighter? So he's 1A under John Jones in terms of my favorite fighters, my GOAT list. I love Jake Paul. He's a white hat. His brother is the evil one. And Jake Paul tries. He gives a shit. He has effort. He wants to win. He knocks people out. He's exciting. He brings the robot out. He does the whole thing. He's got the yoga guy. He's got the incense. He's entertaining from start to finish. Logan, complete opposite. Throw in cold water on the entertainment aspect of it when it comes to the lawsuits and this and that. Very litigious man, that Logan. I won't say anymore. But moving on.
No, not moving on, motherfucker.
I'll let you say what you want to say, but I want to say to Clint, I also had it on the secondary TV. I had the UFC on the.
You told me I couldn't do it on the Patreon because I had to do it on the YouTube, and now I'm here. What do you want from me?
Okay.
Dylan Dennis won that fight, and here's why, and here's exactly why. There's no rule against clinching in boxing. I mean, I see these guys clinch all the time. Clint's talking about the takedown. Anybody who's ever went for a takedown in boxing gloves knows you can't get the lock around the legs. It's a lot harder to get a takedown in boxing gloves, especially against a bigger man. Dylan Dennis has only fought 170. Logan Paul made him fight at 195. Sure, he signed the contract. Sure, I appreciate that. It gave us our money's worth. It gave us, and I didn't pay, so it gave me my money's worth for sure. That's scrum at the end was enough for me. Dylan Dennis tried to clinch him up, as every boxer in every boxing match. Why isn't KSI disqualified? Because KSI has a big platform. Okay, Dylan Dennis went for a clinch and he tripped. You can tell me that's a guillotine attempt. That was not a guillotine attempt. He just tripped in a clinch, and then what happens? Logan Paul throws a punch at him on the ground when he's laying on his back? What the hell is this? Logan Paul should have been disqualified. That is the most egregious thing I've ever seen in a boxing match in my life. You never hit a man when he's on his back in boxing. By the Queensberry rules, if this wasn't an exhibition, Dylan Dennis walks out with his hand raised.
What you're saying isn't wrong. At the end of the day, Dylan Dennis did nothing different in terms of that guillotine that we haven't seen Tyson Fury do in every single one of his fights. I mean, he's hanging on guys' heads all the time. So I know what you're saying, but they're grading, they're attributing intention because of who he is and all that we know about him entering. But the real,
and because he went for a double leg before,
and then also
we're
not playing by the Queensberry rules. Like that's why you can't bet on it, and all that.
For a straight up takedown.
Yeah, but anyway, but
it's hard to get a takedown in boxing gloves, my man. Like, if you've ever sparred somebody in your life,
reap the leg. If you're going to sell out for a takedown, you're in a boxing match and you decide, okay, I'm going to sell a takedown, then go for the trip, man. Like, slide through the takedown, hook your leg around theirs, trip and drag them to the ground. Like, whatever it takes. You have to hit that takedown.
And Dylan Dennis isn't a wrestler. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. Jiu-jitsu doesn't teach you how to take people down. You guys start on your butts. You fucking hump the ground, getting to each other, and then tussle legs. Jiu-jitsu sucks. I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner. It fucking sucks. It stinks.
When he made contact with Logan in that ring, when he finally did shoot the takedown, Dylan is just such a cringe, awkward guy that when he does stuff, it's almost like he surprises himself. He looked like a dog that caught a car when he shot the takedown. It was almost like he didn't finish it. He just shot it. It was like, oh shit. And then it just like kind of, like it all just poofed into thin air. But either way, super cringe, embarrassing for both of them. Don't like it. Not going to buy any more of those pay-per-views. I'm not, a bootlegger like you, Alex. So I actually just contribute the money.
No, I just watched the recap after and read the reports after.
All right. So while we have Clint, let's talk about the important things that we're actually here to talk about, which is the next celebrity boxing match. The next cash grab celebrity boxing match, Fugazi bullshit. So it's going to be, who is it? It's Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. This one actually gripped me, grabbed me, got me. When I saw the promo tape of Mike Tyson training Ngannou, and he's like, this is it, Francis. We got to get going. And he's hitting him with the medicine ball. I'm like, I love this. I'm all in. I love this dynamic. I love the Mike Tyson training Ngannou. And then when Tyson Fury came out at the press conference and he was like, I'm about to cry my eyes out over here. Imagine a newborn baby and he's born and then Mike Tyson bullies you. All that, whatever he said. I loved it. I'm all in. I'm completely bought in. I just don't see Francis Ngannou making this as interesting as it could be. I think that if you watch Bernard Hopkins on Joe Rogan Experience, I think it was Bernard Hopkins. Was Bernard Hopkins? Was it talking about this fight?
Philly dog, the Predator.
He was like, dude, he's like, Mike Tyson wins, or he's like, Tyson Fury wins this fight 100 times out of 100, basically. I mean, he's like, this shouldn't even be competitive. It's a guy who's never done it before going in against arguably the greatest to ever do it. We saw this play out with McGregor and Mayweather, and I think that
the difference is those guys are 120 pounds. Those guys weigh as much as my shit. They're a leg apiece for me. I'm a big boy over here. I'm 200 pounds. These guys weigh my legs, boys.
You are not 200 pounds.
I'm 200 pounds. I'm proud. I'm proud to be 200. I'm like Bradley Martin. But what about my 200? I'm talking to Brandon Moreno, but I'm 200 pounds.
The odds that I saw was minus 600 Fury at this point. I mean, is there anything is there anything to be gained on? I think Fury. I don't think this one's going to go. What is it scheduled for? 8 rounds?
Not sure.
Does anybody know? I don't know.
I know it's out for a title.
They don't even have it on Tapology. I'm looking right now. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think that these guys can go or have any interest in going the distance. But with boxing, it's just so difficult because it's like you never know with what kind of motivation, with what kind of competitive, fire they're going to come in with. So it's something I kind of want nothing to do with, but I was just eager to get Clint's take on the matchup in general. Will you be watching it? Is it something you tune in for? And will you be betting it?
Yeah, man, this is one that I probably will be tuning in for. I doubt I'm going to bet it. I mean, if I did, I'd have to go all team MMA and back Francis Ngannou in this spot. I think the big difference between this one and the McGregor fiasco is simply the fact that this doesn't seem to be a spectacle. Francis Ngannou truly believes that he is the baddest man on the planet. He wants the respect of everybody in the world, and he wants to go out there and destroy a man who has talked down to him. That's completely different from like the 3-day buildup with McGregor faking like he's spanking the Mayweather. Like it just was an embarrassment, man. That thing dragged on way too long, by the way. They got cringier and cringier every single time they set those guys on stage next to each other, but they weren't allowed to touch each other and all that kind of crap. Francis Ngannou actually wants this. And we are talking heavyweights. So he might not be a boxer, but he's training like a boxer and he's trying real hard to be one. And he still has nuclear punches. If he connects, he can end the night. And that's something that we couldn't necessarily say about Conor McGregor. Like, yeah, that was always the talking point of what if he clips him? He got carried in that fight. They made it a show. It wasn't something that Mayweather was going to end early because they wanted the views. They wanted people to get their money's worth. This is different. So I might take a flyer on Francis Ngannou. Now, not something that I would be betting seriously, not something I'd be putting, full on MMA-sized pile dollars on or anything like that. Just a sprinkle, just show a vote of confidence, have a ticket to prove, hey, I made some money on Francis Ngannou if he won by knockout. No one's ever going to see it if I lose it. Yeah. So I'll be cheering for Francis, but definitely don't think it's something that people want to get too invested in. He should lose this. Boxers are boxers for a reason, and it's not like learning submission defense and then being able to grapple with somebody and survive with boxing. They will find the chink in the armor over the course of that thing, and they will make you pay for it. And on top of that, Francis isn't exactly a cardio machine. So if this thing does get extended, I just think he's going to get melted.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that breakdown. I agree with you. I think it's like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to bet on Ngannou, and I'm going to ride the fairy tale journey the whole way, and I'm going to hope for that one punch. But if Fury wins, I think whoever wins is going to be a finish. So I don't think that these guys could physically be in there for that long with how powerful they are and for how much energy it takes to box at their size. So.
Well, him and Deontay Wilder were, and Deontay Wilder has been doing boxing a lot longer than Francis, but it was.
But that's my point. He can.
Well, let me finish. I'm gonna let you finish, but let me finish. Francis Ngannou has been doing combat sports. If you guys remember when he fought Rosenstruck, what's his first name?
Jairzinho
Rosenstruck. Rosenstruck had like 100 boxing matches, had all the experience advantage. Yeah, he didn't have the physical attributes as a Tyson Fury, but we felt stupid as hell betting on a kickboxer against Francis Ngannou, saying Francis Ngannou isn't going to have the strategy. We felt like an idiot betting on Alistair Overeem when Francis Ngannou beat the shit out of him, knocked him out with the shovel punch that will live in infamy forever. Alistair Overeem, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. You know who else is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time? Tyson Fury. I think Francis Ngannou has more than a puncher's chance. I mean, you look at Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, didn't he play college football? Didn't he get into boxing late? Like one Francis Ngannou, get into it late, almost put you away during the fight. I don't know, guys. I really think that Francis Ngannou has a lot bigger of a chance than the odds are giving him credit for. Like Clint said, I'm not going to bet the house on this, but I'm ride or die MMA. I think that we have all said this in Francis Ngannou fights before, but what was the big question? Can somebody take him down? Can somebody put it on him? Can somebody bring him to the floor and give him his own only weakness? Now, he doesn't have that weakness. Tyson Fury isn't taking him down. Tyson Fury might clinch him up a bit, wear him out, put his body on him. But what's Tyson Fury going to do when you're fighting against a guy who's cutting down to heavyweight? I mean, you don't have to do that in boxing, right? There's no limit in boxing. He had to cut down to heavyweight in the UFC. He's all muscle. He's pure steel. He's not going down by Tyson Fury. I mean, I love putting a KO bet on both of these guys because, like Luke said, probably doesn't go the distance. It's either a standing 8 for Francis Ngannou or Francis Ngannou puts him on the floor. Francis Ngannou either puts him on the floor or he's standing in the corner like, I'm good, and the ref calls. Those are the only two outcomes that happen here. I got to roll with Francis Ngannou on this one as a bet. Obviously, it's dumb. It's the most moronic pick you could do. You're fighting against one of the greatest heavyweights in boxing history against a guy who's doing it for the first time. But Francis Ngannou has proved us wrong time and time again, and you're taking his biggest weakness out of the equation. Dan, what do you think about this one?
I'm not going to overthink this in two ways. Number one, I'm definitely not going to bet it because, again, we got this, it's a legitimate fight, but there's still that sort of sideshow money grab aspect to it. But the other side of it is, I'm obviously going to go with Tyson Fury, one of the greatest boxers of all time, against a guy that was shoveling sand like 5 years ago. And very good UFC fighter because he's got the 4-ounce gloves and he's knocking people out. He's a freak athlete and all that stuff. Not in the great sport of pugilism will Francis Ngannou be getting a knockout or really he might have the one, McGregor uppercut moment against Mayweather and people go, but really
these guys are 280 pounds. These guys are 280 pounds. It's not just an uppercut from a little ass guy like Conor McGregor, a little pipsqueak. It's not a little ass punch from Floyd Mayweather, little pipsqueak. These are raw athletes, tallest, biggest.
I'm just gonna do this for a second. And then I just wanted to do that for one. I just wanted to do that for 1 second. I don't know why, but hold on, real quick. So they're 39 or 37 and 35 years old, respectively. When it comes to Tyson Fury, people say he's the best boxer of all time. It's kind of like that meme of girls where they go, "Is he hot or is he 6 foot?" With Tyson Fury, it's like, "Is he good at boxing or is he 6'9"? You know what I mean? Is he good or is he 6'9" with a gigantic beer belly, unathletic as fuck, and has been put down in a lot of those matches with Wilder, you know what I mean, several different times over. So if Wilder can put him down, and listen, Wilder's a way better boxer than Ngannou. He went to the fucking Olympics. I'm talking about just punches are going to land, and he's been punched a lot, and he's old. And Ngannou's just as old, but in MMA, I feel
just needs one.
I'm sorry?
He just needs one.
He just needs one, and he's a little bit more protected in MMA. Like, even in the fights where he's lost badly against, like, Stipe, like, it's not like it's not like a boxing beatdown. Or the fights that he's won, like, against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. There's no fight in Tyson Fury's career that he's taken that little damage. You know what I mean? Where he's gone in and just, taken as little damage as Ngannou took against Rozenstruik, right? It's like punches get landed in boxing at a certain rate, even if it's just... Oh, sorry. I did not. I swear to God, I didn't do that.
That German guy made his eye look like
right. Like he takes a lot of damage.
And that guy, have you heard of him since? Have you heard from him since? Does anybody know if he still exists?
His name was what? I forget his name, but he was saying his name in the fight. That's what I'm trying to remember.
German.
Maybe that was the other guy. Either way, it really doesn't matter, guys. But there's two things that do matter, and that's what's coming up this weekend because Clint has blessed us joining the show, so we want to get his takes on the co-main and main event that have switched up, UFC 264. And then we have a little bit of a drought. No MMA at all. The Fury and Ngannou match is going to be the closest thing we have, to get us through the drought. But after UFC 264, no UFC until November 4th. Almeida versus Lewis out of Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Derek Lewis stepping in for Curtis Blades. 14 fights on this card. So huge card we have to break down for you next week. During the break week, we'll come in and give you our early predictions on what we have so far. A lot of big names that we've talked about on the show before. Old favorites from Dontel Mays to David Onama, Modestus Bukauskas, and Vince Pichel. It's a triple P bonanza, essentially. So we're going to break that down next week. But for now, folks, it's a break week. We already broke down UFC 264 for you. We already went through it with a fine-tooth comb in the Comb Club. So if you're here now, we're going to give you a little sample size snack pack of just the main and co-main, the stuff we didn't cover on the YouTube episode last week. And then if you want the rest of the card that we ran through, that's going to be in the Comb Club. But we want to at least get Clint's take on Volkanovski versus Makhachev. I'm going to go check on the baby, use the bathroom, but I'll be right back, boys. Keep Clint warm while I'm gone, okay?
You made it sound like it was a pick. I'm going to go with checking on the baby and using the restroom. Clint, what do you think about the main event?
It's
a newly constructed.
It's a legitimate out. As a father, I can tell you that's a legitimate out. Anytime you need to bounce, man, got to check the baby. I love this fight, guys. I really do. The first fight, I was all team Volkanovski. Like, I just wanted him to win so badly. I don't know what it is, but Islam Makhachev being just crowned the next Khabib, the heir to the throne, it bothers me. I'm like, you're not Khabib. You have to prove that you're the new king. You can't just waltz up there and let everyone take, your word for the fact that you're the next king. I want to see the guy prove it. Now, don't get me wrong. He's well on his way, destroying, Charles Oliveira. And even if it was hanging on for dear life, getting through someone like Volkanovski, pretty solid resume builders, in my opinion. So he's working on it. But like I said, I want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. So I've got this bias against Islam for some reason. I want to see someone knock him out. Him getting clipped early on in his career and put down. I'm like, the dude's chinny. Somebody just hit him really good and he'll go down. I want to see the upset. So I'm always rooting Team Volkanovski. I want to see that guy be the GOAT. I want to see him do what, someone like McGregor couldn't, throw that second belt over his shoulder to defend the damn thing. We know Volkanovski would be the biggest badass of all time as a two-time world champion. So I want to see it. I just don't know if it's going to happen. Because, when you've got a guy that's as good as Islam is, who's as young as Islam is, you get him his first taste of 5-round experience against arguably the greatest fighter on planet Earth right now, and he gets through there, he survives it, he's going to come back better. And that's terrifying to me. The fact that Islam still potentially has ways to grow and improve as a fighter, that's horrifying. So I have to pick Islam Makhachev in this spot. I hate it. I'm going to be rooting for Volkanovski the whole time. I'm not betting on Islam because I'm one of those weird people where if I really am a massive fan of somebody, it doesn't make me feel better to lose money or to win money betting against them. It's a break even. Yeah, I can dry my tears with my cash, but if I'm a real fan of somebody, it just feels gross. I don't want that money. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to bet the under, guys. I like fight doesn't go the distance here in this one. I think Islam is going to have some more tools in the box. We saw him hurt Volkanovski last time. We saw Volkanovski pull away with the cardio and clip him in the boxing last time. And on top of that, this fight being short notice, I think it's just going to put a timer on it. I think Volkanovski is going to come out hard and fast. He's going to be reckless early, maybe more so than we're used to seeing him. And I think that's going to open up finishes for both guys. So I kind of think we see an opposite fight here. I think we see a barn burner as opposed to the 5-round delight we had last time. I think this one goes under.
Yeah, I think that people who say they have to have faith, it's like I'm kind of taking a leap of faith on Volkanovski because I'm a fan. It's like, well, faith is the belief in things not seen, guys. And we've seen this fight, and it was very close. And I think, take the names aside, Clint, if you saw a fight as close as that fight, and then in the rematch, the line was, 2-1 on one guy, I think you would take that as a gambler because it's just, to me, that's value. We saw this fight. Joe Rogan himself said Volkanovski won. A lot of people have said Volkanovski won. I don't necessarily think that it was as controversial as people made it out to be. I think it was a very close fight. I've seen closer fights. I've seen bigger robberies. But ultimately it was a fight that the reason so many people wanted Volk to win is because if you grade on a curve, he did win. The younger, or not the lighter guy coming up, nobody thought he could win. He performed so much better than people thought that I think that's why people were like, well, he overperformed in our compared to our perception of how he was going to. So what I don't like is obviously all the stuff everybody already knows, the elbow surgery, the short notice. But what I don't really have a problem with as much is the lack of a training camp. I think that this is Clint, you've done jiu-jitsu. You ever take a long gap from jiu-jitsu, go back, and all of a sudden, like, your first class back, you're better than you were when you like left for some reason? Like you feel like things make more sense for some reason. Like you get like submissions on guys, you choke guys out who have been coming. Like they never took a break. They've been here for months and months, and you took a 2-month break. Now you're back and you got some guy in a submission. Like, oh, that was like very clear to me. It's because it's like, I don't know, you flow more. Information has time to settle. You're looser. You're not like as inundated. You're not too close to the forest to see the trees. I think a guy like Volkanovski in that mindset's very dangerous, right? So I'm going to take the risk on Volkanovski for sure. Not the risk, but I'm going to take the underdog odds, and I'm going to kind of try to call this one right.
I like it.
Dan, Alex, any other hot takes?
My angle on this, Clint, is kind of like what you were talking about, where you said that Volkanovski is going to come out and he's going to bring that barn burner mindset because of the fact that it's a short notice fight. That's actually what I like about this as far as the strategy. If you're betting on or rooting for Volkanovski, I think that is the kind of blueprint, the strategy you need to have for these Dagestani fighters, right? Bring it to them. Don't be too cautious about the takedowns and, just circling the cage and all those things that we typically view when we're watching guys trying to avoid takedowns. No, take it to them. Don't worry about it overexposing yourself and getting taken down. We know that Volkanovski can get up. He's been doing all the training with Craig Jones and the B team and all that good stuff. So I like Volkanovski specifically on short notice. So that's the play for me. That's the angle I'm taking. Maybe he gets subbed out in 30 seconds and I look like a dumbass here, but that's the risk I'm taking on top of the plus 200.
I love Volk on short notice as well. I mentioned this on the Comb Club. He's coming in here free. He's coming in here ready. You have to believe that Volk knew he was going to transition to a 155er at one point in his career, and he knew he would have to see Islam again. Islam is not prepared to see Volk again. He didn't know that, although he might have thought it would be like down the line. He's prepared for Charles Oliveira, a completely different matchup, where Charles Oliveira, you got to worry about a guy on the outside who lands dangerous looping punches, who also has the potential to submit you on the ground. Volk is a guy who wants to get on the inside, and sometimes he'll take the wrestling to you, as we saw very early in his UFC career. Volk has been active. He just fought again against somebody, defended the belt. It was not Pantoja. What the fuck is his name? Yair Rodriguez. Dangerous guy. Very dangerous guy, where Islam, there's no danger. He doesn't have to worry about getting knocked out. He doesn't have to worry about getting submitted. This guy is not going to do either of those things. He's like a Cuban wrestler in freestyle Olympics. He's going to play, try to get the points, and try to wear you out on the points. That's exactly what Islam does. Islam is not a finisher. He's not going to go out there and finish Volk. Volk is going to go out there and finish him. He's going to be fighting more free. He knows what he has to do to win. He felt it in that last round. And I think we should be playing pride rules, boys. I think the last round should be the most meaningful round. I think that it should be probably scored double. If all the damage you did in the first 2 rounds led you to get knocked around like a sack of potatoes, you don't deserve to win the fight, because clearly that damage that we're scoring on wasn't much damage. Because although I'm bleeding out of my face and I might have gotten rocked a couple times, I still put you down 3 times in a row. You got to score the 3rd round more in a 3-round fight, the 5th round more too. Volk won the first fight. Volk's going to win it again. And as I said on the Patreon, if this fight is as close as it was the last time, Volk will win.
Well, I think with the time we have left with Clint, I just want to get his take on Khamzat Chimaev, Kamaru Usman. Anything else that you obviously want to talk about, Clint? We're all ears. I mean, it's great to have you here again. You've been on the show so many times, and kind of an awkward, weird week with what we got coming up. We got this card change, and then next week we got no card. So just kind of winging it this week. But thanks so much for joining us, dropping by, and obviously let the people know what you got going on in your life. But for the most part, we got Khamzat Chimaev taking on Usman. I think this one's open and shut, in my opinion. Maybe you can convince me otherwise if you're on the Usman side. But when Usman was the champion, I thought Khamzat was coming for him. And since then, he's been taken down and mounted by Leon Edwards. He's been knocked out by Leon Edwards. I think Khamzat does both those things to Leon Edwards. So I don't see how Usman gets away from him on short notice. I don't think he has any knees. I think has a deteriorated chin, and now he's going up in weight. I don't see this one going all three. Give me Khamzat by a finish. What do you boys think?
Clint?
Yeah, I'm looking at this as a box checking fight, right? All the boxes to me, they're checked by Khamzat. The power, the wrestling, the recency bias as far as not taking all the damage, all the momentum in the world. I feel like even the cardio at this point in time. I'm liking Khamzat here. Price tag isn't too bad, especially as a parlay player. I think he's like minus 250, something like that last time I checked. So I think that's more than fair. And maybe I'll have a little bit of a sprinkle on Usman decision or something if I get that far within my parlays. But for the most part, I'm ride or die with Khamzat in this situation.
Clint?
Yeah, I got to go with Khamzat too. It's one of those spots where I hate to be, sometimes square is sharp, right? You know what I mean? But every once in a while, square is square. And this is one of those spots where I'm not sure which one it is yet. Khamzat obviously is being put in this position to succeed. I talked about it beforehand when his opponent was Paulo Costa. I think the UFC is sick of Paulo's shit. Like, he's definitely not lived up to being the guy they thought he was going to be. He's been hard to book. He's impossible to make work. He had the whole weight fiasco with Vettori. That's them going, hey, here's this really uber popular guy. Let's have him lose to the guy that we want to really be the champ and make a name for himself. So that's what that really felt like to me. So Paulo, pulling out was a bit of a disappointment. Usman filling in, I don't want to say it's an easier fight, but Usman is significantly smaller than someone like Paulo Costa is. So I think that raw strength advantage that Khamzat is going to have and has over most people, I think it's going to be maybe a little bit more evident against somebody like Usman. I know Usman's got that spectacular takedown defense, but I'm also just worried about him deteriorating, guys. I mean, it seems like his durability is starting to go a little bit, and his knees, we know the story, like he walks backwards down staircases because he can't bend his knees anymore. He can't do cardio. Like, I just think Usman's time is up. And a lot of people are wondering, he loses one time, high profile fight, drops his belt, and that means we're throwing him in the bin. Yeah, man, father time in that cliff comes quick. I just don't think Usman is the same guy anymore at this point. And that being the case, I think the UFC put him in this spot. They didn't call Bo Nickel for a reason. They want Khamzat to win this fight. So I think he's going to do that. I don't know quite how he gets it done. I'm predicting a submission. I do think at some point he clips him with a big shot, and maybe Usman shoots a bit of a panic takedown and leaves his neck out there a little too long. But I'm taking Khamzat for the win. I worry a little bit about the price tag and the fact that it just feels like bait. It feels like the bookies are putting him at a decent price tag, so everyone will put him in every parlay, and that's what we're all going to do. So we just got to hope the UFC knows what they're doing, and this guy comes out with the win.
Yeah, I think it's one of those weird fights, but there's kind of value on either side because it's like, okay, you're either going to get Khamzat, who's going to eat alive this old, deteriorated Usman, and that's a great price tag for that, going to give you plus odds on double chance by finish, or, wow, former champ, one of the greatest welterweights of all time, Kamaru Usman at 3-1 dog odds. Like, this is crazy. So really, no matter how you look at it, there's, I think, value to be perceived on each side. But thank you so much for joining the show, Clint. I appreciate it. I was just looking at the poster behind you. It's funny. You got Usman versus Burns, and you got Volkanovski there too. It's like, are those
replace that
winners,
bad boy.
the two losers, or a mix of both? I don't know.
Yeah, I got to update that thing. Me and the wife have been talking about getting me a new poster back there for a while. I think every at least 3 months I need to swap out for an updated event back there.
We need to get you a nice Selecki on that wall. So
Selecki, 3-time PPT Fighter of the Year, Clint. I don't know if you know much about Joe Selecki, but Joe Selecki is a 3-time PPP Fighter of the Year, and he's making a run for 4-time. And yes, you are one of the contenders, but Joe Selecki, he comes on twice a year, he fights. you do fight for your right to party, but we gotta weigh all this, you know.
You know what? It's fair. I say we settle it in a grappling match. Me versus Joe Selecki.
Oh,
Let's see who comes out on
so
top.
funny you mentioned that. Clint, do you want to join our quintet team for Joe Selecki's grappling tournament?
Oh, wait a second. What is this? The quintet team? What is this?
Well, Joe Selecki's got this quintet style grappling tournament. We were thinking about asking guests of the show to join us. Eric Anders was on the show, so we were going to try to get him in. He's got a broken foot. But you might be able to fill in for Eric Anders, and we could bring you down to North Carolina way and do a little.
You could be our Alexander Volkanovski.
That is hilarious. Now, guys, you know what? I would absolutely fill in on short notice. I would be your Alexander Volkanovski. The problem is I still got about 20 pounds to cut down. I am not in competition shape these days. I absolutely would have done that with the timing being correct, but this one ain't it. I got some work to do. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
We just got demonetized right there.
That was very brave. Well, on that note, I don't think we can end it any better than that, folks. Thanks for joining the show. This is a little snack pack break week show. Please join the Patreon if you want to get us, if you want to get our updated addendum picks for UFC 264 in full. Those were the main card and co-main card, or what am I saying? The main event and the co-main updates. But the rest of the card we got in the Comb Club on the Patreon, and the full episode is also there for you on the YouTube channel.
So I'll take Khamzat Chimaev since I didn't give my pick, but
shit, sorry, go ahead.
That's
My bad.
completely fine.
I forgot, but just make it quick. You've been a little long-winded. You have a couple too many heinies today.
Dude, I'm a heiny boy. I'm an ass man myself. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chimaev just because he's ready. He's been in the United Emirates for a while, but I do have cause to pause because we have a guy who's at one of the top 5 wrestling countries in the world, and Kamaru Usman, who was invited to the Olympic Training Center for wrestling. Like, I don't think Khamzat's going to have the wrestling advantage in this. I do think he will have the striking, and I do think he has the reach, and I do think he has the size on Kamaru Usman. That's why I'm going with Chimaev. But if this gets down to a grappling match and a cardio match, Kamaru Usman is a live dog in this one, and I don't see any reason why not to put a little sprinkle on Kamaru Usman, especially by decision. You look at their, same matchups, Gilbert Burns, Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat struggled with Gilbert Burns. Kamaru did too. Kamaru got knocked down in the first round, finished Gilbert Burns in the second or third. My memory doesn't serve me very well right now. And, Khamzat Chimaev almost got finished in the third round by Gilbert Burns. So you look at these types of scenarios and you want to lean toward Kamaru Usman, but in reality, guys, he's flying overseas on 9-10 days notice. He's going to be just like Andre Petroski. He's just another lamb for slaughter. And Chimaev will go out with his hand raised and, we'll be saying Swedish wrestling is all of a sudden better than American. That doesn't make any sense. They're not even in the top 15 in countries. Look up the medal counts.
We'll get Bo Nickel in there eventually, everybody. But thank you all for joining the show. Like I said, Patreon, Comb Club, updated information, all there, Discord, all that. Clint, Pub Sports Radio, Die Hard MMA. If you know us, you know Clint. Let's be real. Thanks for joining the show, Clint. We had a great time. And everybody, I don't know what else to say. Dan, Alex, come on, fill in something. Anything.
Clint, thank you so much.
We're taking up all the goodbye time. Thank you, Clint. You're the man.
Final word to Clint.
Check out Die Hard MMA Pod.
Love having you
guys
on.
Are awesome.
Love having you on so much. If you have any plugs, feel free to throw them in now as well.
No, you guys are great. Thank you so much for having me. This was definitely fun. I'd love to do it again. And I don't need to plug anything. You guys have yelled Pub Sports Radio so many times already. I think I'm good. We covered that base there. So I just hope everybody kicks some ass this weekend. Good luck on your predictions. And I hope we all make money this weekend. It seems like a good card to make money. Just please, let's avoid the giant bomb that is going to be the parlay buster. They're in there somewhere. They're lurking. Hopefully we avoid them. Bless all your parlays.
It's Mike Breeden, everybody. Mike Breeden's going to win.
And Clint, if you want to make a run for Fighter of the Year, you got to come on the podcast more. Come more frequently, and maybe you can
to the Quintet tournament,
if you come to the Quintet tournament, you will 100% be the PPP Fighter of the Year.
I'm gonna work on getting in fight shape. We'll see about that after that point.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for doing the show.
Thanks, buddy.
I don't